do the listing presentation. I'm not going to do the listing presentation. We'll talk about it as we go through it. We have the listing presentation recorded in several places. So if somebody wants the listing presentation, just ask us and we'll send you to the right place and you can watch me perform it. But if you guys are with Freedom Builders and you don't have our script book, ask for that as well. And we have this entire script book that we can email you, or you can pick it up physically. And so I just want to start by saying, you know, people are so opposed to scripts. I mean, we even have coaches out there which crack me up, and they're like, I hate scripting. We heard it at our retreat today. You know, somebody stood up there and they're like, we don't like scripts. Ugh, they sound so gross. And, you know, you just sound terrible when you're scripted. And then in the same breath, the same agent that's telling us that she hates scripting is telling us to tell stories. And basically everyone's raising their hand and saying, well, how do we get our agents to memorize and repeat and duplicate the story so then they could sell to the client? So what does that mean? Let's get them to memorize a script, right? I mean, let's get them to memorize the exact story. So scripts are just, the point of them is not for you to sound robotic. The point of a script is to give you some kind of guidance to have a professional conversation with a client and get them to the realization of what you want them to do and to benefit them ultimately in the end. If you're one of these people that say you don't use a script, you're lying, because everyone has the same script that they say. It's just what you came up with. So before I had actual scripts that I was copying and mirroring and matching and trying to present better, I was saying something else. I said the same thing to every single seller when I walked in. It didn't get me the results that I wanted. So obviously my script sucked. And so when I met all of these people in the Mike Ferry organization, thousands and thousands of professional agents that literally proved to me that you could build a huge business by learning what to say and when to say it and how to say it, which is the most important thing, I was sold. I've got somebody here today in our room, and her dad is a friend of mine and somebody who I admired in the Mike Ferry organization. He still today uses the scripts, does he not? Yes, yes. 7:45 to 11:30, her dad is in there calling, cold calling, actually with a hand. Is he hand dial still?
Yeah, he does 2 calls. I'm teaching, I'm going to speak to him.
Yeah. He does 2 phones, hand dials still, because he doesn't have a dialer. And this guy's been doing it for how many years? 20, 30?
Like
25 years. And he's become very wealthy by just doing that activity. And so again, you're not going to like scripts if you sound like a robot, and if you practice them once a week or once a month, or you get on the phone and you go, before I come out, there are a number of questions I need to ask you, okay? And the person hangs up on you, that's your fault because you suck at it. So I think the biggest thing about it is the presentation. So who in this room today uses scripts religiously? Yeah. And who practices them every day religiously? One person, because her dad does it.
We weren't on a roll till Pam took a vacation. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Well, you're an adult, so this is not an adult daycare center. Pam can take a vacation and you adults can figure it out, right? So no, I mean, I think it's one of those things that, again, everybody hates it. I felt so stupid literally learning these words, but the first step is just learning the words. So I think once you learn the words, then you can figure out, you know, like I just can easily naturally say that sentence because it's my sentence now. I've adopted it and it's mine. So if you're new to the business or you're seasoned, the seasoned agents are going to have a harder struggle because Patty's been in the business for years. She probably has the same presentation over and over. Do you not? Yeah. And it's a script. It's Patty's script. But could she take a few of these nuggets or the process and do better by it? So the first part of the process of becoming a really good producing agent is you've got to figure out how to get your behind, whatever you want to call it, your butt, your ass, your behind, get it in front of people every single day, or you're just not going to build a duplicatable business. You'll build a business. It may be successful and take years to build, which people will come back to you because you're going to invest 10 years in just building it slowly. And so eventually at some point you'll have a big business. But if you want to build your business fast, which I think, why not? Let's all become rich faster. Would you like to be rich faster? Okay, learn some scripts. Learning the process of becoming an agent is key. So the first thing I would say to you all in becoming a really good listing agent is figuring out what is your schedule. You know, when do you come in every morning for your job? Most of us are independent, contractors, right? So nobody has ever forced us into having a schedule other than if you're on a team, and that can get a little wishy-washy too, because I'm of the mindset that my team should know what to do. They're adults. And Pam and I should not have to every day do it, but we have to sometimes. And it's only because we want them to achieve the goals that they set for themselves. If somebody says to me, I want to become a millionaire, well, you're not going to become a millionaire waking up at 10, getting here at noon, making 2 calls, and that's it. It's not going to happen for you. So really it takes that drive to get to the goal that you want. So first things first is wake up early and get your day started and be prepared and planned. So you want to get to the office pretty early, 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then your first piece of the day is going through your scripts. Again, you're about to get out on the court. You're not going to not bounce the basketball before you get into the game. And you got to think of this as a contact sport. You're going to get on the phones, you're going to talk to people, and you're going to have to sound like an educated person that's not, stumbling all over themselves, because it takes literally 5 seconds to gain the trust of somebody on the other end of the line, or even in person. If you're going to do an open house, my God, don't sound like a babbling buffoon, or don't stand there and wait for people to come in and go, just take a look around. How did you like the house? And then they're out the door. I mean, you got to just engage in people. And I think we overthink it sometimes. We're like, oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. So first thing is we have to practice how to present. And if you're going to become a top listing agent, the first thing is get your butt in the door and spend those 30 minutes a day with a role play partner. So we shouldn't have to call you guys and go, do you have a role play partner? Just put it in the Freedom Builders group. Hey, I am serious about building a big business. I need a role play partner. And here are the 3 days that I want to role play with someone. So I don't care if you're as good as Renee Hillman. Renee could maybe want to run through this and get a little bit better. And she might just say, you know what, I'm going to practice it 2 days a week, feel better, and do something uncomfortable to grow my business, and her business will grow. So get a role play partner, get in the office a little bit earlier than you're used to, and spend 30 minutes just role playing. And my feeling is, if you start role playing with someone and it becomes, hey, what did you do yesterday? How's your kid? That's not professional talk at that time. Go out to coffee and talk about each other. But at that moment, you want somebody to drill you on, I want you to cut your commission. I'm not going to hire you because the other agent said they do it for this. Everything that the sellers throw at us, we should have at least 2 answers for everything the seller throws at us. And trust me, guys, these sellers, they're not going to seller boot camp and coming up with new objections every year. They say the same damn thing over and over and over again. You don't live in my area. Where's your office? How many homes have you sold? If you're a new agent and they say, how many homes have you sold? You better have an answer for that, right? So don't be afraid that, oh my God, they're going to ask me that question. I don't know what I'm going to say. Well, just figure out 2 answers for it. So if you're brand new, how many homes have you sold? You're going to have to lean on your company. And you're going to have to say, you know what? I've been in sales for X amount of years. Maybe you sold Chick-fil-A sandwiches and now you're a realtor. Well, you've been in sales, right? So I've been in sales for many years. I'm actually around this amazing group, and we're the #1 real estate firm in the area. Just lean on your firm and then ask another question, right? So, how important is it to you that your agent has sold 1 million homes, or do you want somebody that's really going to put in all their effort to focus on you, or some team leader that's just going to make you a number? I might twist it around and say that a Renee Hillman or a Tina Caul is just going to make us a number, right? So figure out something. If you don't know the answer, ask somebody. Ask me, ask Renee. If you're a top agent, your response is going to be different, right? You're going to just say, I sold this many homes last year, and the average agent sells 4. So I always tell this to my team. If you're an agent that sells 8 homes a year, you're probably considered a newer agent. If you sell 8 homes a year, you've sold 2 times the national average. So what sounds better? I sell 8 homes a year. That sounds low to a consumer, right? It's not a lot. So you have to give them something to qualify that with. So now I sell 2 times the national average. If you sell 12 homes, you sell 3 times the national average. They don't know what the national average is. So you don't have to say numbers, but you can guide it that way. All right, so we're going to come in, we're going to script practice and role play, and we're going to at least try to talk to 20 people a day. And we're going to fail, and we're going to have people hang up on us, or we're going to feel like we're bothering people. But the only way to become a really good listing agent is to take action and to get in front of it. And you'll see that eventually it's just like riding a bike. You're like, okay, I'm over it. You know, the first 10 times you do it, you guys will get really, really comfortable. Once you're prospecting, in our script book, there's going to be different scripts for different opportunities. So you're going to have buyer scripts, right? You're going to have buyer leads, you're going to have seller leads, you're going to have open house leads. There's all different types of leads. So you don't have to only call expireds and FSBOs. You could circle prospect your neighborhoods. You could call around and say, hey, this is Tina. I live in the neighborhood. I'm a neighbor. And, you know, we actually sold 3, 10, 15. I would look up the neighborhood stats. We've sold 15 homes in our neighborhood in the last 12 months, and we have buyers looking to move into the neighborhood. Gosh, Maria, who do you know that's looking to move into our neighborhood right now? Or who do you know that's thinking about selling in our neighborhood right now? Have you heard anything through the grapevine? That is not a hard conversation to have. You're building a relationship with Mary. You've called her. You said, I'm a neighbor. I need your help, Mary. And then when Mary says, no, Tina, thanks. I can't think of anybody right now. Well, would you do me a favor, Mary, if you think of anybody that, you know, if in one of your groups or clubs, if you think of anybody or hear anybody, could you please just call me? Let me give you my number. And oh, by the way, what's your email address? I'll email you my contact info. And get their email address and then kind of stay in touch. Then you can ask Mary, hey, Mary, how long have you lived in our neighborhood? Well, I've lived in our neighborhood for 7 years. Really, 7 years? Where did you move from? How did you happen to pick this area? If you were ever to move again, would you stay here and locally in Raleigh, or would you go back to Florida where you came from? Again, it's just conversation and scripts. And your goal is to build rapport with people and dig and dig and dig and find the gold every single day. That was my objection every single day. Dig for gold. Gold is not easy to find, right? I mean, you're not going to always get yeses. You're going to get mostly no's. So if you switch your brain that I'm going to get mostly no's, you're going to be more successful. So say we're on the phone and we get an expired listing, which Wendy in this room and Zach are brand new agents. Zach and Wendy had no other, things in their mind that they were nervous about. So we kind of threw them in a room and put them on the phones. And they've both already taken their first listing and they're brand new agents. So if people say this doesn't work, my response is, you're not working, right? This works. It really works. And it is literally the key to the castle. I tell everybody that wall that you guys all have, that fear of picking up the phone and dialing, like the fortune's right here. And this is the wall and it's a telephone. And so if you guys can figure out how to get past that, you're going to get the key to the fortune. And so, like I said, it really does work. So the first thing we're going to do is when we talk to a seller and we finally make an appointment and they finally say yes, we're going to go through something called the pre-qualification script. So whether it's a buyer or a seller, I mean, it does vary, but I'm going to focus on the sellers today because everybody needs more listings. So even if it's a friend or your mother, you should probably practice this script because there's nothing more important than your family member or your friend seeing that you are a professional real estate agent. And you can just say to them, look, Mom, Brother Bob, I'm gonna treat you like I would any other of my customers. So I've got a series of questions that I'd like to ask you today. Would you mind if I go through them with you? And literally read them off the page. So I think if you skip the pre-qualification presentation or questions over the phone, you're really going to have a huge miss when you get out to the property because that's where I gather my information. I'm kind of digging for the info that's going to help me land the appointment and then also build rapport with the seller so they'll know that I was listening to them when I got out there. So again, Renee, before I come out to visit you today at 5, I'm so excited to get out there. But before I come out, there's just a few questions I need to ask you. Is now a good time? Can we role play that, Renee? Unmute yourself, girl. I'm picking on you today.
Great.
Okay. So you be the seller, and I'm just going to roll through these questions, and then I want everybody to kind of understand why we're asking them. Because I think sometimes when you know the why, it makes sense. So, all right. So Renee, you're an expired listing, and before I come out, you've already said yes to the appointment. And before I come out, there's just a series of questions I need to ask you. Is now a good time?
No, it isn't.
Okay. Well, what would be a better time for me to call you back?
How long will it take?
Well, it's just a few questions. In fact, in order for me to prepare for my appointment and make sure that I do a really good job when I see you today, because this is a $500,000 sale for you. It is important to you that you net the most amount of money, correct?
Yes, correct.
Well, in order for you to net the most amount of money, just like a doctor, I have to make sure that I have all of my information to make sure that I do a really good job for you. So is now a good time, or would 4 o'clock be better?
Oh, actually, I could do it now.
Okay.
That makes sense.
All right, perfect. Well, so Renee, when I come out there, you said that your home did expire off the market and you had it listed before with another agent that you met locally. If what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident that I could actually get your home sold and you believe in my marketing plan, are you ready for me to start bringing buyers out to your house and get me hired?
We plan to interview agents. I talked to my husband about this already. So just given our last experience, we want to interview 2 to 3 agents before making a decision.
Perfect. Well, you know what? One of my questions was, are you going to interview agents for the job? And I would recommend a minimum of 2, but definitely 3. When do you think that you'll interview, or have you set up interviews? I know you said on our call that you've gotten a ton of calls today.
You're the first one we're setting it up with, and then the other 2, we're hoping to make a decision within the next week.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So tell me again, where were you moving to?
We're actually moving locally.
Okay, good. And have you picked out that house? Are you building, or are you just going to wait to sell this one and then decide?
We're in a situation where we need to sell this one in order to buy.
Perfect. And the reason I asked you is not that I'm prying or want to get into your personal business, but depending on your strategy and the quickness of the sale, I can set up a different marketing strategy and plan based on your timeline. So if your home sold, if I brought a buyer and your home sold in 2 days and they needed you out in 2 weeks, is that something that you and your husband could accommodate, or are you looking for something a little slower?
Ooh, probably a little bit slower. That would be tough to pull off moving, a 4,000 square foot house that quick.
Okay, perfect. Not a problem. I'll make a note of that. And then when I see you, Renee, I know you had your home listed for $550,000. You guys started at $585,000, and it sounds like you started chasing the market down a little bit. When I see you as a professional agent, what do you want to list your home for? I mean, what are you hoping to get?
I mean, ideally, right? Everyone wants to get more, but we feel like we've tried it at this price, but we wouldn't be opposed to keeping it at our current price, but understanding what improvements we would need to make in order to, keep it there, and whether that makes sense.
Perfect. So ideally, you'd like to keep it at the 550 and see if there's anything you could do to maybe have a different experience this time.
Correct.
Okay. Well, and as a professional agent, Renee, I've been doing this 20 years. I study homes and prices every single day. So I'm assuming that you want a price that will ultimately get your home to the table, get it to the closing table, right?
Yes, hopefully, but within reason too.
No worries. So what price won't you go below, Renee? Like if we brought you a cash offer for $525 and, the terms were perfect and, it got you to the timeline that you were looking at, would you look at an offer like that for $525?
I think we would consider it.
Okay. All right, perfect. And then I'm going to create a net sheet for you so you can see exactly what your costs are going to be. How much do you owe on the property?
$125,000.
Good for you. So there's a lot of equity that we need to protect there. Congratulations. Have you ever thought about selling the home yourself?
Oh, no. That would be way too much. We know that you have to do a lot of things.
Yes, you definitely have to do a lot of things. And then describe your home for me on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a model home, it needs nothing, and 1 being, we may need to sell it just for the land.
I would say it's probably about a 7.
Okay. What would make it a 10 in a buyer's eyes?
I don't know. That's where I think we keep getting stuck. We're really not sure what's preventing people from pulling the trigger. Just not a lot of feedback to go off of.
Yeah. And you said in our conversation earlier that you were getting a lot of comments about it's a very nice home, but we need to keep looking. So not a lot of comments on price, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, which could leave you confused because obviously buyers found enough value to come. They just didn't find enough value to buy, right?
Yes. And that's why we're open to doing some things to appeal to the buyer more.
Got it. Got it. Well, perfect. Well, I've made a note of that. Before I come out, Renee, because again, I want to really focus on you and your husband and your goals and the numbers. I'm going to send out a package of information by email, and all of my information's in there, all of our accolades, all of the things we did. I don't want to really spend a lot of time talking about me, and I want to focus on you. So would you please take 5 minutes and just review that package? That way I think all of your questions may be answered, and we can really focus on what's really important, which is netting you the most amount of money.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay, perfect. And then do you have any questions for me before I see you tomorrow at 5?
What is your commission?
You know, that's a great question, Renee. And that is something, that's actually the first thing that we'll go over based on what I see in the house and the marketing package that you pick. So I'm going to make a note of that right here. That's the first thing we talk about. Any other questions?
No, I think I'm good right now.
Okay, perfect. So just so you know, our meeting should take anywhere between 5 and 25 minutes, depending on the amount of questions that you have. And that includes all of the paperwork. Sound fair?
Wow, that's really short. Okay.
Yeah, so perfect. Well, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and, you know, talking through your situation. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
All right, thanks.
Hire me, Renee. Hire me, Renee. Hire me, Renee. So did that feel weird or uncomfortable?
No, I mean, you can definitely tell you've practiced. I mean, obviously, because we're all in sales, right? You can tell you've practiced it and we're on your game with the objection handling.
Right? Yeah.
And makes me realize I need to practice.
All of us. All of us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where, to me, if you hire 2 agents and the agents call you over the phone, or typically what happens is the expired listings already picked an agent before the listing expires. They're going to do their research a month before, 2-3 weeks before. So you're not going to get as many opportunities with the expired unless you're really on your game and you can convince them to give you an opportunity. So if you get that opportunity, imagine that the other agent that Renee is talking to that was recommended by a friend that sells 10 homes a year calls her like, hey, Renee, yeah, I'm so glad that we can get together and I'm going to see you later, you know, whatever, later on at 5. And I'm so excited. And that's it. And then I'll see you at 5. And then I call and I'm professional. I'm poised. I'm asking her a lot of questions that get her thinking, and it might make her uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, who are you going to put your $500,000 asset in the hands of? Right? The professional that's asking you questions, that's talking about your asset, that's talking about netting the most amount of money. I don't know about you, but I was impressed when I heard people presenting this way. And I knew that I would get crushed if I was up against that competition and I wasn't presenting that way. So that's what convinced me to have to up my game and get better, because I moved into a brand new market and I had Sharon Evans and Marty's and Renee's and all these amazing agents that have lived here forever that had a huge competitive advantage. I didn't even know how to get out of a neighborhood without my GPS. So what the hell am I going to bring to the table? Nothing. I don't even know the comps, right? So I had to put my little crown on and trust the fact that I could bull my way through the appointment, right? And because I was taking the conversation the way I wanted it to go, it didn't leave the customer enough time for them to quiz me on where I live and how long have I been here, and because I was confident. So if all of you did anything, it would be learn some scripts and gain some confidence, and then decide if you want to use the scripts, but the scripts will help you kind of be on your game. So, all right. So now I've sent out an email with a little cute listing presentation. There's nothing special in there. It literally is the Mike Ferry package. You guys could go to mikeferry.com and copy it, and every new agent in here can use that exact presentation, because it doesn't talk about stats or anything. It literally says, hey, I'm a proactive agent. I use proactive techniques versus passive techniques. Passive techniques would be waiting for the phone to ring, sending out flyers, and just basically waiting around. Active techniques are getting in front of the top agents and making sure that they know your home is coming for sale. An active technique is knocking on all the neighbors' doors when I list the property. And I'm going to tell them that, I've just listed your property, and who do they know that wants to move into the neighborhood? How impressed would that seller be? The fact that you're out there knocking on 10 doors around the property. And trust me, you're going to get a listing if you do that consistently and knock on the 20 doors on the street and say, hey, my name is Patty, and I just listed that home over there. You know, wear your little mask, step back. I just listed that home over there. I'm going to leave a flyer. You know, I'll hand it to you or put it in your mailbox. I would really appreciate if you could help us find a buyer and pick your new neighbor. And then you invite those same people to the open house. Now you've touched them once. Then you can touch them twice by calling them back and saying, hey, it's Alyssa. Remember, I dropped off that flyer. I'm having an open house. I'd invite you to come. We're having mimosas. I'd really enjoy if you could come and give me some feedback on your neighbor's home. And just, you know, it's an opportunity to be nosy, and it's legal. So come be nosy for me and help me out. And so you get them in there then you sell the home, right? Because homes are selling pretty quickly. You've staged it right. It looks amazing. Now you've sold the home, and you're going to call those same 10 or 20 people on the street. Hey, Alyssa, hey, Tina, it's Alyssa. I just sold that home. We actually had 12 offers, and we got, thousands over the asking price. Thank you so much. I don't know if it was from your efforts, but I just wanted to thank you. If you're ever looking for an aggressive agent to get your home sold, or you have a friend or family member that's struggling, please remember me. Here's my card. I don't know about you guys, but that would be the only agent I would ever call, because now they've talked to me like 3 times. They've demonstrated how amazing they are for my neighbor. And, everybody thinks we're lazy. People think we're overpaid and we're lazy. So if you just demonstrate that you're just proactive, all of this stuff is fluff. That is the reality. How do we market homes? We price them right, and we throw them in the MLS, and we make sure they look good. That's the marketing strategy. Everything else is fluff. Marty Hampton does her coming soon homes. That is not fluff, but it is another way to present herself as doing something above and beyond the competition, right? We're marketers. We're always trying to be proactive with what we do. But the reality is that type of effort, going to each house and calling the neighbors, you'll get another listing out of that. If there was one person on that street thinking of selling, they're calling Ashley if she's doing that. That's just the reality. So that is the type of thing that you do when you're really not that busy. I mean, if you're a top agent selling 150 homes a year, kudos to you. You figured it out, and you've got repeat and referral traffic. And so then you're just loving on your database. But if you're not listing a lot of homes, you have to take this extra effort and go above and beyond. So now I've done that. I've gone to the appointment with Renee, and the first thing I'm going to do is, before I got ready to go to the appointment, I'm listening to really positive stuff. I'm not freaking myself out. I'm distracting my brain. I remember when I went to my first listing appointment, I was sweating. I was nervous. My stomach was in knots. I mean, you just feel like, what are they going to say? And are they going to know I'm new? And oh my God. And I don't know the contract really well. What if I get the listing? God forbid. I have to go through the contract and then pretend I know what I'm talking about and all this legalese. It's really overwhelming. And I was there. And so I grabbed somebody from my office, Jill Bomarito, I remember, and I'm like, you're coming with me. And so I brought her with me, and she kind of took over the conversation, which was fine. This was back in the day, 20 years ago. And we got the listing. So my first listing was a for sale by owner that I just kept following up on. The second one was a FSBO. I brought Jill again at that one, but I took a little bit more charge. And then by the third one, Jill was out of there. I was like, okay, I got this, Jill. You're dead to me now. So yeah, ask for help. And there's always somebody around that will help you guys. I mean, I'm not going to go on every listing appointment with you, but if you learn your stuff, you will be more confident. So I get to the listing appointment. I'm listening to positive music on the way there, not positive music, positive affirmations, whatever you want to listen to, a positive book about mindset, because you want to go in there with I'm going to get this listing. I'm going to at least do a great presentation and do my best. Make sure you bring your script book. When I get to the door, I'm always in a professional suit. I think everybody should have some kind of professional suit. You don't want to go there looking kind of casual. You wouldn't go in a vest, and you want to just get a business suit. Even if you're a man and you want to wear some jeans with a business suit and a suit and tie on top, I think that really is professional, because people look at us differently. Like if I went and met my attorney and they were just in a t-shirt and shorts, and I'm about to battle $1 million lawsuit, I'm not feeling really comfortable at that point. I want them to look the part. Same thing with your doctor. If they came in and, just not doctor apparel. You'd be like, get me out of here. So really take it seriously. The next time you meet them and the next time you could kind of be whoever you are. But I think the first impression should be really sharp. So upgrade your appearance. You're going to go in there now with COVID. I would always say, give them a really firm handshake and look them in the eyes. I can't tell you how many people I've met and they've got that like, handshake and you're like, ugh, it's so creepy. It's like creepy wet noodle handshake. So, I mean, right now, again, we're not shaking hands, but if we ever get back to that again, just look people in the eye and just be really confident and say, thank you so much, Renee, for inviting me out here. I'm really excited about the opportunity to show you how I believe we can get your home sold and get you to your next destination. Just give them a power statement of confidence. You're excited. Thank you for the opportunity. I think that's huge in that moment when you get there. And then really take charge. They don't know what you need and you don't, so if you're both kind of like, well, how do you want to start? How do we start this? And nobody knows what they're doing. Literally from that moment you walk in the door, you are in charge. I'm only 5'2". And when I walk in the door, I'm taking charge. And I got people that are 6 feet tall, big grown men sitting in front of me. I'm like, all right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to set my things down at the kitchen table because I want to lead them to where we're about to end up to talk business. I'd like to take a quick look at your home. If you don't mind, I'd love to take a look on my own and just walk through the property, see it through the eyes of the buyers. And then I'll make notes and then we can sit down and you can talk to me about the finer features that I may have missed, because if I miss them, the buyer will miss them. So that was one of my strategies to save time once I started to really get into a lot of listing appointments. But if you're newer or you just feel like that's your moment to build rapport, then go ahead and walk through the house with them. So just kind of say, yep, I'd love to take a tour of the home. Let me put my things down on the kitchen table and then you can show me through the house. So you let them show you. The person, if it's a couple, typically the person that leads the charge is probably the one that's going to be the driver. Here, I'll show you around, and then they're showing you around. You'll find that person probably tells you where to sit. So if I'm getting directions from someone, I go, that's my driver. That's the one that's the decision maker. Not that I'm not going to ignore the other person, but I'm really going to try to make extra eye contact with that person. So we've looked at the home. I'm not giving them any opinions. Again, you're not there to give them all of your stuff for free. I can't tell you how many times I've given the seller, yep, I would change this and move this and do this. And then they're doing it all and going with a flat fee broker. So the reality is we're going to talk numbers, we're going to talk range, and we're going to show them how we sell homes. And that's the purpose there. You're presenting to them and then you're showing them how you're going to get their home sold. So we walk around and I just have a little notepad and I take a bunch of notes. So it looks like I'm actually, listening and caring. And I might say, oh my gosh, this house needs paint, or I'm making my own mental notes. Now we sit down at the table. And again, you should have this right in front of you. And you could just literally say, Renee, thank you so much for having me over. I've actually written out a bunch of questions. Again, like we did on our call, I'm going to read through them now to make sure that we get, you the most amount of money. It's always, I want to get you the most amount of money. Whenever they have an objection and they kind of throw you off, listen, we want to get you the most amount of money. That is what you want, right, Alyssa? Yes. It literally derails their craziness or their thought process at that time. And boom, we're focused on the most amount of money. That's what every seller wants. That's the only thing they want. They want to get the heck out of there in the shortest amount of time for the most amount of money. So that should be one of your favorite lines. Hey, I get it. I'm here because you want to get the most amount of money, correct? Yes. So that is my one go-to when I want to cut the conversation and derail it back to me, or if they fight me on an objection. So again, the listing presentation, we're just going to go over the whys of why the words say what they say. So if you have a listing presentation in front of you, you're basically saying, Renee, I wrote down 3 really important questions that I ask every seller. And so I'm going to ask it to you today. I mean, do you absolutely have to sell this home, or do you have other options, maybe renting it out? And then she's going to answer.
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, sure.
We don't absolutely have to sell it, right? Obviously we want to move into, new construction at some point, but no, we're not kind of over a barrel to have to sell this.
Perfect. And the only reason I ask is because there are different levels of motivation in clients. Some have a divorce, a job transfer, a death in the family. So their motivation is really, really high. And those are going to be the people that we're up against in the market. So I just like to know, that answer for my sellers to better prepare. Will you price your home to sell, Renee, or do you mind if it sits on the market for a long period of time again? So that's a jab. And so you're reminding them it's about price, right?
I mean, apparently we don't mind since we've already been sitting on the market for 6 months, but it's kind of a pain to have your house on the market too. So, we want to do it right this time.
Got it. Perfect. And based on the package that I sent out yesterday, do you want me to handle the sale for you?
Oh, I totally forgot to look at that package. I'm so sorry.
No worries, Renee. A lot of people actually forget, so we'll definitely go through that a little later in the presentation. So that's perfect. So again, just have an answer. A lot of them say, oh, I forgot to look through it. Hey, that's okay. A lot of people do. We'll go through it later. We don't want to sit there and sell them on our marketing plan. Trust me, it's not the marketing plan that sells the house. It's you. It's the person in front of them. It's how confident do they feel that Renee Hillman's going to sell their home based on what's coming out of her mouth. Everyone says the same thing. We're going to put it in the MLS. We're going to do the most beautiful feature sheet in the world, and we're going to do drone photography. Everyone does that. That's like the minimum standard right now, if we haven't noticed, right? They want you to be a good agent. You're honest. You have integrity. Okay, well, we know that. So you want to kind of understand, to me, this is my opinion, that the presentation is what sells it. It's the exchange and the feeling. So at the end of my presentation tonight, typically one of three things happens, Renee, whenever I meet with a client like you. Obviously you have the opportunity to put me to work immediately. I am ready. I literally have all the documents here. I even called a few buyers to let them know that I've got a property potentially coming that might meet their needs. Again, I'm very proactive. So I'll be ready to go to work for you immediately. Number two, you may decide not to list the home with me. Or number three, I may decide that I can't take the listing. And the only reason, Renee, I wouldn't take the listing is because I'm an honest agent and I don't want to upset you. If I believe that the price that you need is not in line with the market, I'll be the first one to shake hands and move on as friends, because I'd rather disappoint you now than 6 months from now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's a power statement. You're just saying, I'm not attached to the outcome. Like, you could either hire me, you may not hire me, or I may not hire you. And I think that's the most powerful statement. It may take you guys time to be able to say that, but it is so empowering when you can just go, yeah, whatever. I could see you saying that one day. Would that make you uncomfortable right now to say it? A little bit, yeah. But it's true. It's like, I didn't say that in the beginning. This Mike Ferry presentation, it took me 2 years to actually use it. I practice it. I would go in and literally say, I wrote down 3 questions. I read the 3 questions, and then I was off the script for the entire rest of the time. It's a learning curve, because you go, in my mind, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I forgot the next line, right? Because I was trying to memorize it, or, I wasn't just having it in front of me confidently. They don't know what this says. Can you read this? No. And I can't read anything that's right there upside down in fine print. They just think you're prepared. You have notes. Like, that's awesome. So again, that's my power move that was taught to me, that was like, yeah, one of 3 things is going to happen in every presentation. One of these things does. And then let's take a moment and review the questions I asked you over the phone, Renee, because sometimes you're only asking the spouse and you're not in front of the other person. So now you can kind of collectively get everybody together and say, well, you said you were moving locally. You said you were moving because, your house was too small, too big, too whatever. You hate your neighbors, whatever their excuses. That's why they're selling. You said you had to be there by this and that time. You'd like to price your home at $550 still, but obviously you said that you'd be a little more open and maybe realistic this time as far as what the market's suggesting. You're not planning on selling it yourself, and you want to cash out of it. So those are just the recap questions, just to kind of reaffirm the pain points. Again, you want to know the motivation of why these people are moving. If they don't have a why that's pretty grand, you're just wasting your time. I would go out to appointments left and right thinking I could convince people, because I'm such a great salesperson, to sell their home. No. If they don't have motivation to sell their home, you are wasting your time. So figure out on the call, why are you moving? And you might just flat out ask, say, you know, your home is absolutely gorgeous, Renee. I mean, I would have a hard time selling it. Why are you selling this amazing home? So you might just position it differently, right? So now that I know their why, then I can start with, you know, Renee, there's really only 2 issues that we need to look at tonight. Whether the market is hot or whether we're back in 2008, there are only 2 issues that sell homes today. And number 1 is the price that we set on this home, you and I as a team. And number 2 is your motivation to sell the home. Remember earlier we talked about different levels of motivation. There is going to be somebody out there near you that is thinking about selling their home right now that is almost similar to yours, that has a death, a divorce, or a job transfer. And you know what? When we come to market, they may beat us in price. And the fact is they want to go before you. And if they beat us in price, we're immediately overpriced on day 1. So your motivation and the price that we pick on this home is really important. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And get them to, those are tie downs. Like, does that make sense? Do you agree? You know, get them to keep saying yes, yes, because then they're agreeing with you. So you're in charge and they're agreeing with you. And then you're going to go into the script. You know, I've prepared what we call a whatever, you know, competitive market analysis. I would change that word. I think that's an old dated word. You could call it a market absorption analysis. I like that better. You want to pick things that other agents are saying and turn them around and try to be different. And coin phrases. We learned that, right? In our coin the process. You know, Renee Hillman's process could be the, you know, whatever, the Hillman action plan, you know, that's a guaranteed Hillman, we use this Hillman action plan, whatever it is, just coin that. So that's yours. And so you don't have to just call it what every other agent is calling it. So there's 2 parts to the research, Renee. You know, I've prepared what we call a market absorption analysis. There's 2 parts to the research. Part 1, agents jokingly call fantasy land. And that's where a lot of part 1 is what we call fantasy land. And that's where some agents will price homes. Again, I blame it on the agents, not the sellers. I don't want the sellers to feel like they did anything wrong. It was their agent, their advisor. We're here not to take orders. We're here to advise. And so when anyone kind of, you know, ever comes at me like, I want to do this, this, and this, and I just sometimes jokingly say, why are you about to pay me $20,000? Literally just say that to them. Like, get the commission and go, why are you hiring me and paying me $20,000 and we're literally not doing anything that I've suggested? It's a waste of time, right? So just go hire a flat fee and do what you want. So, you know, part 1 we call fantasy land. That's what that's what agents will list homes. The script says homeowners, but I like agents will list homes for. Part 2 is called reality, and that's what professional real estate agents that do good business list and sell homes for. So you get to decide, Renee, today, where do you want to spend your time? Because you're in charge of the process. I'm just here as the information deliverer, right? So the purpose of the market absorption analysis is to determine the value of your home in the eyes of who? The buyer, right? So Renee, you think the house is worth $550, right? Maybe even a little more. I would like to get you $600. And if I had the magic fairy dust that I could do that today, I would list your home at $600. But the reality is you and I have to convince the buyer. They're in charge. They've got the checkbook ready and they've got to make that decision. So how do you feel buyers determine value, Renee, when they're shopping? How did you determine value when you picked this house or the new house that you're about to buy?
I think, you know, the overall layout of the house, the feel of it, the subdivision, schools. I mean, I think there's a lot of components that go into, you know, someone falling in love with a house.
Mm-hmm. So schools, location, you know, the fit and finish of the house. I mean, are you going to look at one house or are you going to look at several and compare?
Oh, probably several. I mean, we looked at several when we bought this.
Absolutely. So I think you would agree buyers determine value by comparison shopping, right? They're going to look at the features and benefits that you've, you know, laid out for them today. And then they're going to compare it with every single home in the market. And I promise you the home that has the most features and benefits for the best price is going to win in the hearts of the buyers, right? So there's the next piece of this is going through, which some people are like, oh, that's so cheesy. You can change it around. I don't think it's that cheesy if it's delivered correctly, but you know, I've jokingly just said, you know, Renee, have you bought a car recently? I saw you had a really nice Porsche in the garage. Porsche, sorry. Did you buy that Porsche recently?
I've had it for a few years. It's my fun car.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I probably wouldn't use the Porsche because those are very, you know, maybe she bought a, you know, some Buick Century. That's what you bought, Renee, a Buick Century. So anyway, when you went and bought that Buick, Renee, did you look at several different cars or different dealerships, or did you just buy that car immediately when you first saw it?
Truthfully, no. It's just what my grandfather always had, so I just kept buying the same car.
Good, good. Well, when I buy a car, Renee, I'm kind of cheap. So I like to go from dealership to dealership, and I like to comparison shop. So let's say we had 2 Buick Centuries, right, at 2 different dealerships. And one dealer says to you, hey, I'm going to sell you this car for $40,000 today. But you found the other Buick Century, and that dealer was willing to sell it to you for $25,000. It's the exact same car, except it doesn't have a moonroof and fancy rims. If you had to pick one, which one would you pick?
I would probably pick the $25,000 vehicle.
Right. Yeah, and why is that?
Because it's a lot cheaper.
Right, and you could probably get a moonroof and fancy rims for, you know, more for less than $15,000, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so that example, Renee, is sort of like real estate. You have all the extra features and benefits. I saw that in your write-up, you've got that really lovely, you know, kitchen patio with the, oh my God, what am I trying to say? The kitchen, not the chef's kitchen.
Outdoor kitchen.
Outdoor kitchen, thank you. Losing my marbles. You have the really beautiful outdoor kitchen. You've got the upgraded, you know, carpeting. You've changed all your light fixtures. So those features and benefits are considered an upgrade, right? However, if you're priced the same with other homes in line with you and they don't have those features and benefits, your home becomes a clear choice, does it not?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so buyers are looking for that. If you have more features and benefits and your price the same, you're going to win. But if you have more features and benefits and your price way above the others that don't, a buyer may just say, well, I don't need an outdoor kitchen and I could probably, you know, live without these light fixtures for now to save $25,000 and just go down the street and buy the other product. So that's kind of how buyers, you know, whatever. So we give them that analogy, and you've got to kind of understand it yourself or you're not going to get it, right? And I think a lot of people feel like it's a silly analogy, but it's worked for me for years, and so we use it. So basically at that point now, you're showing them comps. You're bringing 3 active comps, 3 sold comps. You also want to dig down deeper and bring expired listings. So listings that have not sold, because you want to use that as proof as, well, hey, they use this strategy. See how they priced it here at $599? Then they lowered it to $570. Then they lowered it to $550. Well, it ended up expiring at $550, and they ended up selling it for, you know, $515. So you're trying to show them examples of sellers that went down that track and failed, because stories sell. So I would really dig deep for those expireds if you have any. I would also show them active comps, and I would dig through the history of the active and just see how many days on market, how long it's active, and see if they've had price reductions. You literally want to write that on the paper. Like, they started at $585, now they're $565, now they're $535. So you're just basically saying that the seller overshot, now they're chasing the market down. The excitement's over. The power has been taken away from the seller in the first few weeks. It's been given to the buyer, and now it's stale. So if a buyer pulls up to a property today and they see that it's been sitting on the market for 3 or 4 weeks, they're just going, what's wrong with this thing? 'Cause every other house that I've loved is gone, and it's gone with multiple offers. So it's such a disservice to a seller. And trust me, I've got listings that are sitting there right now that need a refresh. It's over for them. So now we have to go back. We have to reset these listings, reposition them, change some things, and then bring them back to the market. So you want to have kind of that ammunition in those stories and tell them that why it's so important to price it a little under market value to open up the market versus try to shoot for the stars. So after you've shown them all the comps, which should prepare them for the number that you want, because obviously if you're showing them the closed and then the, the pricing, they should, at that moment, they already know what you're going to tell them as far as pricing. They could pretty much in 2 seconds say, well, Renee, it seems like you're trying to say that this home is worth $525. And then you go, well, based on what we've looked at today, what price do you feel we should use to create value in the eyes of the buyer and get them to buy our property versus the competition? And they're probably going to whine, or they're going to say, well, it looks like you're telling me $525. And you go, well, you know, again, it's not me telling you, it's kind of the market. And remember that when the buyer comes to your property, the only thing they understand is what's active in the market. They have compared your home with active properties. They have not seen the comps. When they decide to pick your home, which is our challenge, my job is to market your home, get them to pick our house, right? Stage it appropriately, price it appropriately, get offers in. When the buyer decides to make an offer, that's when the buyer is going to sit down with their agent and do exactly what we did today. So if you and I are convinced it's worth $525, so is the buyer. So we're not tricking anyone, right? We're not looking for one buyer that doesn't have a brain. Everyone has this info, and they sit down and figure out this info the minute they've chosen your home and they decide to write an offer. So based on this and based on what we know, my goal is for you to, you know, get an offer in the first couple of weeks and get the home under contract. I'm going to recommend a price based on what we just showed you today, Renee. And I'm going to say that in order to get you where you want to go, we're going to have to list the price at $525. Are you comfortable and do you agree in that market valuation today? And then she's going to say yes or no, right? She's going to fuss a little bit. And so let's say you fuss a little bit and you go, well, but you know, you're so good. You're such a good, I've had people say to me, well, but I feel more confident in you. And I think if I had you as my agent, we could have got $550. No, not going to happen. So say that. Tell me how great I am, Renee.
I was actually going to I was going to do it different.
Okay, how are you going to do it?
No, I was just going to say, well, obviously I think the house would sell at $525, but I also think any agent could sell it at $525. So why, you know, knowing that, I mean, obviously, I guess at this point, maybe we talked about commission, but knowing that we're going to have to pay you 6%, but we've got other agents that are willing to do it for less, why should we really choose you if that's the price that we have to have it at? And we understand that.
Yeah, well, you know, Renee, at the end of the day, are you interested in just in getting your home on the market with any agent at the cheapest price just to save money? Or are you still looking for the best advisor to get you through the process at the right price?
I think a combination of both.
Exactly. So again, remember that this is not my price. My job is to position you correctly. And then my job, Renee, is to do what I'm good at and get as many eyeballs on the property as possible and use my techniques to make sure that I negotiate the best price for you. I agree that you could just throw it out at any price and probably get offers, but who's going to keep the offers together and who's going to make sure that we get you to the closing table? I mean, experience does matter at the end of the day. So I do agree that lowering the price will help, but you also have to make sure that your agent, you're confident in the strategies that they have to get you to the closing table. Are you comfortable with the strategies that I presented in today's meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I like your total package.
Perfect. Well, I like your total package and I think you should hire me now.
Well, you know, us analyticals, we have to finish our interviews. I feel like we need to do that.
Perfect. Well, I can appreciate that, Renee. Like I said, the decision is yours. What would you feel more comfortable with? Pricing it at $525, having a really aggressive pitbull agent getting you to the closing table, or potentially just having me go a little bit above that and we could go to $535 if that makes you more comfortable. Again, the reality is you're in charge here. I've presented all the information. I've given you my stats. I've given you my track record of success. So I believe that I'm the best agent for the job of getting your home sold and getting you to the finish line because I actually have the confidence to tell you the truth, right? Whether it hurts or not, like we said in the beginning, I don't need the listing, but I want the listing because I want to earn your business and then I want to earn your future business with your friends and family. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does.
Okay.
And I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, we could list it higher if that makes you more comfortable. Is that what you'd like to do?
No, I don't think it's an issue of that. I think it's just we, you know, have some strong choices to choose from and just need to do our vetting on our side.
I agree. I agree. Well, we definitely won't be the cheapest commission, but we definitely can prove that we get the results, and we stand by what we do, because we're not the cheapest, like I said, but we don't cut corners when we market these properties. So you're going to get the best advantage from the exposure that we give. You didn't read the marketing package you said earlier, but I would say to you, based on what we spend in just our marketing and the track record that we have, I think you're going to be really, really happy with the results that we can deliver at the end of the day. So she's analytical. So as far as an analytical, she's right. I mean, they rarely will make a decision right there at the table. And the more you push an analytical, the more they're going to resist you and not like you, right?
Yeah.
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 So
Like, I'm getting annoyed.
yeah. And I need to, and I wouldn't push her. I would have not pushed her in the beginning as much, and just really kind of given her lots of information, and then followed up, and make sure that I might even say to her, you know, Renee, at the end of this, you know, I think we can both agree that $525 is the right price. She says yes. I would say yes. You're going to get a lot of agents in here, Renee, that are just going to tell you what you want to hear. And you may not get an agent that's strong enough to tell you that you need to reduce your price by $25,000 because they want the listing that bad. So before you decide to go any other direction, would you give me the honor of just giving me a quick phone call and kind of working through some of the other conversations, so I can make sure that I have, again, all the information to net you the most amount of money?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that.
Perfect. So I want to just kind of get my in with the last effort to just kind of answer her questions. And then it might come down to commission or whatever. And, you know, and then I might, it's always, do I have the permission to, or I might say, so I know you've met with me now. When are you meeting with the other two agents?
We're basically trying to make a decision by next Friday. So
Okay.
A week from today.
Perfect. When would you like me to follow up with you?
Oh, I mean, we can reach out to you. We're, you know, our schedules are kind of crazy.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's perfect. And like I said, and then I would ask her that, you know, you're going to get a lot of agents that say, blah, blah, blah. They're not strong enough to, you know, tell you the right price, and you might be enticed by that. Would you do me the honor of just giving me the last conversation before, you know, any other agent pushes you into a decision? Because you're going to get agents that try to force your hand and, you know, make you sign a contract. I'm not that agent. So again, now I'm hoping that she gets some other aggressive agent in there to really make her sign. And she's going to hopefully remember that feeling and go, well, Tina didn't do that to me. So I'm always asking. And then if she says, we'll call you, I will still dig and find some kind of information to keep dripping on her. I'll still stay in her way a couple times, just a nonchalant, hey, I found this other comp, or hey, this house looks like yours, or hey, this one just went under contract. I just wanted you to know that, you know, so that way I'm constantly looking like I'm already working for her. In that way. So, okay. So that's the analytical close. You're not always going to get to go through and go, well, all we need to do now is simply sign the contract. That's where people use these scripts and they go wrong because they're not following their gut. You've got to know who you're talking to: an analytical, a driver, an expressive, an amiable, and then kind of follow that path as you're there. But they want you to be a little bit aggressive, be confident, be a little bit aggressive, and show them you want it. Hey, I'm going to protect your money like a pit bull. I mean, that is what you want, isn't it? To net the most amount of money. Well, that's me. And so don't be afraid to say things like that. I mean, you don't have to call yourself a pit bull, but you can call yourself something else. I'm the protector of your equity. Like, I will get the job done. Practice that in the mirror, you know, and make sure you can deliver a very confident, bold statement, because people like that. They're looking for a salesperson, even though they don't know it. They really, truly want that at the end of the day. So you're not there to make friends. You're there to be professional. And I just think that for me, my natural tendency is not driver. This is me right now being what you guys think I should be. Like, this is not my natural. My natural is I want everybody to like me. I want everybody to be comfortable. I do have a little bit of amiable in there, and I'm expressive, so I can get off track a lot too and start going into, oh, look at your trophies and your But what really got me the consistency of growing my business was trying to be this persona. So it's like an actor, right? So you got into the business to become a telemarketer and an actor when you became a realtor. Congratulations. That's what we are. So does anyone have questions? Let's open it up for questions right now because it's already 12:05. Man, I talk a lot. Questions? Anybody? Anybody? Unmute yourselves.
Renee had a question earlier on the walkthrough. When you're doing it on your own, how do you make them not feel like you're just running through it?
When I make them do, because I think that, again, it's the personality style. Like I ask them, you know, would you like me to, you know, would you like to walk me through, or would you like me to walk through and look at it through the eyes of a buyer? Because if I miss something, Mr. Seller, the buyer's probably going to miss it. So since you're not going to be at every walkthrough with every buyer, what I could do right now is just walk through the property and see what details I may have missed, and then we could talk about it at the table. So it's almost like a strategy that you don't want them walking through and going, well, see that I did that and I did this and well, you're not going to be there. You're not selling me today. I just need to get a visual of how the buyer is going to perceive your home, and you walking me around might be a distraction. So I think if you explain the why, then they might just leave you alone. And so you're only going to do that if you're pressed for time and you don't want a 2-hour appointment. But on a unique property, I would walk it. But if it's like your standard 3-2 with a 2-car garage, and you're like, you know, I've seen this a million times, so I'll be back in 3 minutes. You know, so.
Hi, Tina. This is Tanya here. Fantastic. So I'm so amazed. I mean, I'm so glad I attended this. I do have an objection. Can I throw that at you?
Throw it. I might have an answer. I might not. Let's see.
No, it's a simple one, but I get stuck in this one, babble a little bit more. So what would you do differently then? I mean, I'm getting people here charges, whatever, 4.5, whatever it is. What would you do differently than them? And you're asking that you're going to charge 6%.
So think about it this way though, because if I came in and did that presentation, I don't think I never get that objection. What am I going to do differently? Because I'm already over presenting and I'm convincing them by my presentation that I'm a better agent. So if you actually adopted this and you practiced this like your life depended on it and you took control, you're not going to get that, because that's an objection where they're saying, you're just like everyone else. What are you going to do differently? I already have presented everything differently. I've called them. I've did a pre-qual. I've asked them a bunch of questions. I've taken charge. I've got a different presentation, which I promise you they haven't heard. And we could all go in there and do this exact presentation. It's going to be different for everybody because we're all different people. So I think that objection's coming up because they're seeing a miss in value, because I rarely get that objection. What could you do differently? I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, I think it's the presentation that needs to be different so you don't get the objection. Because I just don't have an objection handler for that. I'm just different. So Renee, what would you say to that?
I mean, I think I would go back. I mean, because again, this has happened to me too, right? Where, again, you either just miss the presentation, which sometimes you do. You might have an off day or something like that. But I typically try to lean on experience a lot, and, having that proven track record, which obviously is a little bit harder for the newer agents, but, I tell people there's a reason a lot of times you go into Nordstrom's versus Walmart.
No, you might say, Tanya, here's what I would say. So now that I'm going back into new agent mode of how would I handle this? Because we can't say we're a top 8, you can't say, hey, I sell 100 homes. So I would say, Mr. Seller, there are 2 types of agents. There's an active agent and there's a passive agent. A passive agent is somebody who just sits back and waits for the phone to ring. I'm an aggressive active agent. So every single day, Mr. Seller, I get in the office at 7:30. I practice my presentation for 30 minutes. I then sit on the phones for 3 hours a day talking to 50 people looking for buyers for my sellers and sellers for my buyers. And then I'm out in the field talking to people like you. Do you feel that somebody with that kind of schedule would bring you different results? Drop the mic. That's it. But you got to do those things or you're lying.
Hey,
right?
Tina, I got something maybe to add to that. Because I've recently came into, that issue is when you and Kelly both told me to break down the percentage, so you got let's just call it 3 and 3 just for simplicity. 1%, goes to me and the team. 1% goes to Uncle Sam. 1%'s marketing. So you can't take out the 1% taxes, right? So it's just me and marketing. Well, I can't work for free either. So yes, we can lower the commission, but you just have to realize that. And people might not break it down for you, but if they're going at 4.5% or 5%, they're taking it out in your marketing dollars. So, you know, I don't know kind of where you want to go with this, but yeah, we definitely have different marketing packages or however you want to say it, but that's what you're going to be getting at the 4.5 versus the 5. It might be another way. I don't know. What do you think about that? Is that too?
I love that. I mean, again, that's a great objection handler to break down the commission, one to the agent, one to Uncle Sam, one to marketing. So I can't work for free because I have to split that 1% with the house. I have to pay Uncle Sam or I'm going to, you know, be in trouble. And so now we're left with marketing. So there's going to be a lot of agents out there, Mr. Seller. They don't care if they sell your house because guess what happens? They're going to give you a lower commission up front. And then they're going to have your home exposed to thousands of buyers. And they're probably going to sell 3 or 4 homes to offset the commission. So they hope that your home doesn't sell because you're the perfect advertising they need in a market that is literally squeezed for inventory. So just think about that. They're going to give you a commission up front, but your best interest is not at heart. It's them selling 3 or 4 properties.
Right.
Tina, would you recommend kind of leaning on your stats? Like, for instance, if you know that you basically net sellers on average 2 to 2.5% more than the average agent in our area, what do you think of that approach?
I think that's good too. If you have that stat and you know you can use it, again, I think you're just throwing anything you can at them to kind of convince them at the end of the day to hire you. But yeah, I mean, that stat would be good. Hey, Mr. Seller, look, I've gotten this. They've got to understand that, you know, one that I use too is, listen, there's going to be a ton of agents that want to do it for 4%, 3%. My gosh, I've even seen it as low as 2.5%, and they're literally cutting the buyer agent out of the deal. But the reality is this: do you feel that a top agent would go and work for a discount brokerage, or because, you know, or do you feel like a top agent would set their own value and succeed in the market? I mean, typically you're not going to find top agents reducing their commission. So you're agreeing to a lower commission, but you're also agreeing to having a representative that doesn't even believe in their own value, literally helping you with a $500,000 purchase or $250,000 or $1 million. So is it just the cheapest price that you're looking for? Or are you looking for the best person to protect your equity on this massive, you know, investment that you have? I mean, you have to kind of call them out on their crap. I mean, I only walk away with 6% and you get 94%. It's almost not fair. And make them laugh.
That would
She just that
go over. Oh,
yeah, I can make an analytical laugh too.
No, I was just thinking about what someone's face would probably look like if you said that to them.
They laugh, and I have said that to them.
Yeah, I guess it, you know, all in the delivery, right?
That's right. That's right. So, but no, thank you, Zach. I think that's great. And Tanya, same thing. It's like, just figure out a few objection handlers and ask. When you guys run into an objection, write it down. You should have little notebooks with, oh my God, the seller said this. I can guarantee there's probably people sitting in this room that have had the same objection. They still don't have 2 objection handlers for it. Shame on them, right? We're in sales, people. You've got $10,000 sitting in front of you, or $5,000. Imagine we laid out $5,000 on the table, and your job is to, you know, remember 2 or 3 things to say, and you're not doing it. You know, like that's where I took it very seriously. This was my craft. So, and I suck at it compared to others. Trust me, Zach, you're going to be better than me in probably a month. So, because he's doing it way more. So you just have to get around those people. There's groups. Jordan, you just got into the commitment to capping group. There's a great commitment to capping group. There are people out there teaching this stuff. Jackie Kravitz, my God, $99 a month. All my agents do this. That coaching is phenomenal, and Jackie's a master at it. So you have to learn your craft and keep learning. And then you're going to become so unstoppable that money just comes easy. I mean, that's my motto. Money comes easy. Get on the phone, go get that money. Go get it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this lady.
This is awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We've got another question. Go ahead. No, you're good.
So she's buying a home with me, and she's been thinking about keeping this townhouse
Mhm.
as an investment,
Mhm.
but she's literally back and forth every hour.
Yeah.
Anyways, so there's a house sitting on the market, a townhouse for 300,000, and she's like, oh, well, that makes me nervous. But I told her it literally came down to price.
Mm-hmm.
I showed her the facts of look at these that were listed at 285. They sold in one day and they got multiple offers. This house is listed too high, blah, blah, blah. So what would you do knowing that she changes her mind every hour?
Have you done a net sheet for her? And like literally, I would say to her, here's what I've done my homework. So Danielle is asking, she's got a seller that is moving and she's got a $300,000 townhouse that she's thinking about renting or keeping. She showed her they're selling.
Yeah.
And so the house, there's a townhouse for $300,000 that's just sitting there like hers, and one that listed and sold at 285. And this lady keeps going back and forth on what to do. So what I would do is say, you know, at 300, if you keep this asset, you're going to make about this much monthly in your rent. How much is your payment right now? So now I'm going to take her payment and I'm going to take the rent, and then I'm going to show her what she nets every month. Let's say it's $300 because it's usually about that much. So $300 times 12, you know, you're going to make $3,400 or whatever it is for the year. In that asset, you're going to put somebody in there and help them pay down your mortgage. If that's your goal, then I'm with you. Let's do it. Let's hold the asset and it's a long-term hold. But Mrs. Seller, if you list this or if you rent this property and you don't have the idea in your head that you're an investor, they're going to trash your property. Every time there's a vacancy, that $3,200, $3,400 a year that you make, you're going to lose 1 month of rent, right? Because you're going to have to kick the person out or they leave. Now you've got 1 month of rent that you have to pay. So your mortgage payment now is going to come off that $3,400 gain. So now you're left with this. Then you're gonna have to repaint because no renter is gonna wanna move into a house that looks like crap. So now there's another $1,000 of paint touch-up. So let's take that. And then God forbid your water heater goes or your furnace or something happens. So if you're not ready to be prepared to make nothing each year or to make a very small amount for the long-term hold, I would figure out what is her goal. It better be long-term hold because you're not going to make more money in a year holding on to it. So give her that. So write that down for her. I always do the rental analysis and then show her at 285, here's your net. And so you can either take your cash, take the 50, 60, 80 grand, which that big chunk of change is going to entice her more when she sees it. And then here's your rental analysis. Usually they'll go for, let's just get it sold. I don't have the guts for that. Just not what I thought. Because you're giving her the bad. They just think, oh, I'm going to put a rental in there and have it as a rental. Okay, but what if something happens? Are you prepared to cover the rent for 3 months? Or God forbid, what if somebody misses their payments? Renters are really good at delay. Yeah, but just lay it out. Sometimes they visually need to be guided, especially if she's a high I or she's just all over the place.
Super analytical too, so I know once I
There you go. That'll be good. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. So awesome, guys. Any other questions? We've got room for one more. Then I'm hanging up on y'all. Good, good, good. All right. Go get some listings, people. Go learn your scripts. I'm watching you, Tim Crane. See you guys.
Thanks, Tina.
Bye.